everyone, welcome to Val Fashion's YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. So today we'll be learning how to make a straight trouser. I'll be using this Kampala fabric. It's a plain Kampala fabric to achieve the straight trouser. Okay, so the measurements needed: crotch length. The crotch length, how do you get your crotch length? You divide your hip by 4. Hip divided by 4, this hip I'm working with is hip 40. When divided by 4, I have 10 inches. Okay, I'm placing my tape from -1 because I'll be having a band of 1.5 inches. I'm placing on -1 because I'll be using half inch to join, that's to sew my trouser to the band. So I'm placing my tape from -1. So the crotch depth is 10 inches. I'm using school chalk because I don't want it to stain the fabric. Then the full length of the trouser is 40 inches. My hemming allowance, I want to use a hemming allowance of 3 inches. Okay, so here is my crotch line, the full length, and then my hemming allowance. To get your hip line, you go up by 2 inches from the crotch line. So here is the hip line. And then of course, here's the waistline. Okay, so on this crotch line, you go ahead to divide your round tie measurement by 2 plus 1 inch. That 1 inch is going to be half inch on this side, half inch on this side for sewing. So this round tie I'm working with is 22 inches. When divided by 2, that's 11. 11 plus 1, that's 12 inches. You divide your hip measurement by 4 plus 1 inch. So 40 divided by 4, that's 10 plus 1 inch. I have 11 inches. And then here, I'm just going to take this 10 inches line this way. Just going to go in by half of an inch. Now this is my 10 inches line. Then I'll go in by half of an inch here so that I can slant this line towards this 10 inches I have here. So of course I'm going to eliminate this line so you can see it is slanted, it's inward with half inch. So on this line now, go ahead to enter the waist measurement. The waist measurement I'm working with is 30 inches. 30 divided by 4, that's 7.5 plus 1 inch also. This is the front piece I'm drafting, so I'm just adding 1 inch, all for my sewing allowance, that's for joining. So now to get the knee point, I'm going to place my tape from the crotch line down to the hemline here and then divide it by 2. So here I have 30 inches. The midpoint of 30 inches is 15. So I'll go up by 2 inches. That will be the knee line. So your measurement from the crotch to the hem of your trouser, divide it by 2. Go up by 2 inches, you get your knee line. For tall people, you can go up by 3 inches. Okay, so now I have this. Just going to get the center. Remember that the determinant of the amount of fabric I folded is the round tie. So that same round tie measurement which I have here, everything I have here is 12.5. I'll get the midpoint of my 12.5, which is 6¼ I'll also bring the same 6¼ all the way down here, and then I'll draw a straight. So this is to get my grain line. The grain line is the center of your trouser. Getting your grain line will actually make your trouser centralized so that it doesn't tilt too forward or backward. The round knee measurement is 17 inches. 17 divided by 2, that's 8.5. So that 8.5, I'm going to divide it by 2, put half of it here and then half of it here. This is to make the trouser centralized so that it doesn't tilt towards one side. Okay, so 8.5 divided by 2, that's 4¼ inch. And then of course I'll go ahead to add half inch for sewing, and then the same thing, 4¼ inch on this side, and then half inch for sewing. Just the same way I added 1 inch here. So it's the half inch that I'm adding on this side. Okay, the round ankle measurement is 12 inches. 12 divided by 2, that's 6. So I'm going to place 3 inches on this side and then 3 inches on this side. Then I'll also go ahead to add the same half inch and then half inch. Okay, so now this is my hemming allowance. On this hemming allowance, I'll just open up by half of an inch, because when you're folding, remember that this trouser, you can see that the line is narrowing down because the ankle is thinner. So I'm just going to open it up by half inch, so that by the time I fold my trouser, it's the hemming allowance is equal to whichever part of the trouser it touches. I hope that makes sense. So I'm just going to open up a little by half of an inch. Okay, and then I'll go ahead to connect my lines. This is me connecting to the knee line, then also to the knee, and then I'll go ahead to connect to the crotch line. So here to the crotch line, and then also to the crotch line here. So you can see what we have here. So I want to create the crotch curve. Okay, so here I'm going to mark the hip measurement I have here. Everything I have here is 11 inches. That's plus my sewing allowance. So I'm going to bring that same 11 inches here. This is to be able to create the crotch curve. Okay, so this is now my crotch curve. So on that 11 inches, you can see that the arc is connecting to the line there. Okay, so now I have this is the center front of my trouser. On this center front line, I'm going to go down by 1 inch. This is to eliminate bulge. You don't want the trouser, the front of a female or of any normal human being, the front is usually shorter than the back, because the back has the butt, so the butt is usually longer. So I'm going down by 1 inch. That's to create my sloper, to eliminate bulge from there. Okay, so I'll go ahead and continue with connecting my lines this way. So I haven't connected it this way, then I'm going to connect to this sloper now. Okay, so this is what I have. So the front pattern of my trouser is ready. So I'll just go ahead and cut it, but I won't be cutting out this 1 inch yet. I'll be cutting on my previous waistline, because I want to place it and get my back first before I go ahead to trim out the sloper. Okay, I have the front piece of my trouser now. Okay, so I'm going to place to get the back piece. Now to fold my back for the back piece, I'm going to be folding with extra 3 inches. Whatever I have here on the round tie, I'm going to increase it by 3 inches. So I have 12 inches in all here, so I'm going to be increasing my back by 3 inches, so my back will be 15 inches on fold. Also gone ahead to fold my fabric for the back, and I have my 15 inches extra. That I have 3 inches extra. So I'm going to place my trouser this way. But make sure that on this side, that 3 inches extra I have, make sure that I have one on this side and I have 2 inches on this side. So you want to transfer markings. So here is my crotch line, the knee line, the ankle, the full length, and then of course the waistline. Okay, so and then my hip line also. So on this crotch line, I'll go down by half of an inch. This is because the butt is lower at the back. Okay, so now this is now my new crotch line. So remember I said I'll be adding 3 inches, but here I'm going to place 2 inches. This is because you have your butt is bigger at the back compared to the front. This is to accommodate the butt at the back. So here is my 2 inches, and then I'll come to this side and place the remaining 1 inch. So this is just serving as my sewing allowance, which I'm going to be using half inch to join on both sides. So here for the hip, I'm going to add 2 inches. I'm adding 3 inches to the crotch line, but to the hip I'm adding 2 inches, to the knee I'm adding 2 inches, to the ankle I'm adding 2 inches, to the waist I'm only going to add 1 inch, which is my sewing allowance. You need the trouser to be firm on the waist. Okay, so since I'm adding 2 inches to the hip, I'll place 1 inch on this side and then 1 inch on the other side. Okay, so I'm going to connect from here to here. So having done this now on the waistline, because when the butt is outward, as it goes up, it begins to go inward towards the spinal cord area. So to eliminate bulge on the back of your trouser, this is where the waistline starts from the back. I'm going to go in by 1.5 from that point. So can you see I'm going in by 1.5 from this point. So I'll use my ruler to connect it like this. So I'm connecting from here to here like this. To use my curved ruler, the pattern master wasn't really giving me what I wanted. So I'm going to use my curved ruler to connect it like this from here to this point. So can you see? This is to eliminate bulge from the back. So you can see that this is the front waistline and then this part is my back waistline tilting inwards. So the butt is usually, like I earlier mentioned, that the butt is longer at the back. So for this butt, I'm going to go up by 1.5 inches. So meaning that the back length is going to be higher by 1.5 inches. So this is me placing my tape from the waistline here, and I went up by 1.5 inches. So I'll connect it to this point. So now, whatever I have here as the waist measurement, everything I have here plus my sewing allowance, remember that the waist is 30 inches divided by 4, that's 7.5, plus 1 in, that's 8.5. So I'm going to place my 8.5, but take note of how I'm placing my tape. I'm placing it slanted because these lines, they have to match up at the side. So here is my 8.5 here now. So I'm just going to slant my line towards this point because here is the waistline. So this 1.5 inch line has to be slanted towards the waistline. So this is what I have, and you can see where my 8.5 stops. Okay, so on the knee line, I'll go ahead to add 1 inch on this side and then also 1 inch on this side. Same thing is what I'll be doing on the hem here, 1 inch on this side and then 1 inch on this side. So I'll go ahead to connect them. So I'll open it up to like this. Then I'll connect also. So I'll go ahead to connect it to the crotch line. And then this part, I'll just use the curved part of my pattern master to connect. Okay, let's just use the straight part. Okay, so of course here is more like straight, and then we'll connect to the waistline. Okay, so this is what the back of the trouser looks like. So on this part that I went up by half of an inch and 1.5 inch, I'm just going to go down by 1/4 of an inch. You don't want it to be too sharp around there, so you don't want it, you want the trouser to just sit on the waist nicely. So I went down by 1/4 of an inch to eliminate that sharpness around there. Okay, so I'll go ahead to cut now. So this is me cutting the waistline. So can you see I'm cutting on the 1/4 inch I went down by. So this is just to eliminate sharpness. So this is how the back crotch is. Okay. Okay. So this is what I have. So now when I place this way, so can you see how they are going to match up? The waistlines will match up. Okay. So this is what I have. So remember that I added 2 inches to the back. Okay, and here in front I added just 1 inch. That extra 1 inch is for ease. Of course, when I was taking my measurement, I didn't tighten the tape on the person, and so when you're taking your measurement, don't tighten the tape on the person. Of course, when you're taking measurement, one of your finger is supposed to be inside, so that alone can add ease to it. So and I went ahead to add 1 inch for ease. So if you are sewing for somebody that wants her trouser really free, you can go ahead and add 2 inches for your ease after adding 1 inch for your sewing allowance. But this is what I am okay with, that 1 inch ease, and then the ease I added when taking my measurement is enough for me. So the next thing now to do, I'm going to be cutting the fly, because this trouser will have a zipper fly in front, and then I'll go ahead to cut the band. Back piece before we'll go ahead and cut out our fly, then before we remove the bulge. To cut out your fly, you're going to place your fabric like this. So you can see I'm placing my fabric on fold. So you want, because you're going to fix the fly to this part of your trouser. This is the front part of your trouser. So I'll come down from the waistline to the hip line. So from the waistline, remember I've not removed my bulge. From the waistline here, this is the hip line here, I have 7 inches. Remember it's from -1. So this is my 7 inches. So I'll go ahead to mark 2 inches, 2 inches. Remember it's a slanted line, so that is why I'm placing it on it, because we need to achieve that slanted line. So 2 inches here, and then you curve it from this 7 inches you have here to meet your 2 inches. So I'll go ahead now to replicate this line I have here. Okay, so I've cut out my zipper fly. So now I'll go ahead to remove the bulge. So I'll bring in the other front, because I just have one piece here. I'll remove the bulge. So when you are fixing your fly, of course it will be longer. We can always trim out our excess. This is because by the time we're fixing the fly, we're going to fold the fly this way. So remember it's a slanted line. We need it to match up before we take out our excess. So that is why I didn't remove the bulge before cutting out the zipper fly. Okay, so you want to cut out the shield, the one that will be at the back that will cover the zipper. That one will just be straight. Here I have a length of 7 inches. So for that one is going to be 1 inch longer than the fly. So here is my 8 inches. And notice that here is on fold. Okay, so and I'm going to still be marking the same 2 inches. 2 inches. I just take it down. It's going to just be straight. 2 inches on fold, 8 inches long. Okay, so this is going to be the shield, and then this is my zipper fly. So to cut the band, the waist measurement I'm working with is 30 inches. So I'm going to add 5 inches to the length, which is going to be 35, because my band is going to overlap on the other. So that's 35 inches. So all I need to do is just to place my fabric on fold. Remember we placed our tape from -1, and I said the band is going to be 1.5. So I'm going to be cutting a band of 2.5, because I'll use ½ inch to turn the upper part of the band, and I'll use ½ inch to join it to the waistline. So in all, that will be 2.5 inches and 35 inches long. So I'll just cut it out and show us. Okay, so I've gone ahead to cut my band, and I applied gum stay on it. This is the medium weight gum stay. This is to, the band needs to have weight. Okay, so if you notice, this is my back piece. I went ahead to apply gum stay to this part also. Also the light medium and the lightweight gum stay, that's the medium weight gum stay, sorry. This is to avoid wear and tear. This is the butt area. You know, when we sit, the our weight applies pressure to the trouser. So in order to avoid that wearing and tearing, that's why I applied this gum stay, to give strength to it at the butt part. Okay, and I went ahead to cut my lining also. It is always easier to do this when you are lining the trouser. when you're not lining the trouser, it's you may not want to do this because you can't be seeing your interfacing. Your interfacing is not supposed to have direct contact with your body. So this is because I'm using a cotton fabric, and so I'm also lining it. So that's why I'm doing this. So most times crepe fabric, those fabrics that stretch, you don't have to do this. But for cotton fabrics that don't stretch when you sit, because when we sit, our body opens up. So when you sit, this will easily tear if you don't apply this gum stay. It just helps. It has a way of making your trouser last longer. Okay, and then this is my lining. The lining is 4.5 inches away from the knee length. Okay, so I also went ahead to do the same thing for my front. I cut my lining 4.5 inches longer than the knee length. Okay, and then this is my band. Of course, we have our fly and then the shield. Okay, so we've cut out our pieces. So now it's time for us to join our pieces together to have our beautiful trouser. I hope you have subscribed at this point. If you haven't done so, please kindly do so. Give me a thumbs up if you're enjoying the video, and then let's continue with our sewing. Can you see how I sewed them together? So the front, I also went ahead to join it, but I stopped. I came down by 7 inches, which is for my zip. Okay, the space for my zip. So you can see I sewed on half inch, which is my seam allowance, and then stopped at my 7 inches mark. So right now, to fix our fly, for women we fix the fly on the right hand side for women. So here is my fly. You see I turned the curved area, so this is this part now. So I'm going to place my curve on this on my fly on this part. Okay, and then I'll go ahead to top stitch it on half inch. So after I'm done sewing it, I'll flip it to the back. So remember I said it's going to be on the right side. So I'm going to sew my fly here now on half inch. I'll try to maintain the seam line. That's my half inch seam line here. So I may even sew it from the back. I'll just sew it this way so that the lines correspond. After doing that, I'll iron it and then I'll show us how to fix the zipper. Okay, after joining my fly, you can see what I have here, and I ironed it to the wrong side. So I'm going to place my zip now. So I'm placing my zip half inch inwards, that's the zipper teeth, this zip opening. I'm placing it half inch inward away from the fly. This is my center front here. So I'm placing it half inch inwards. Okay, so I just want to pin it down. Okay, so can you see how inward it is? So I'm going to be sewing on this part. Okay, so when I'm done sewing on this part, I'll show us how to sew it to the other side. Okay, so that we can do it at once. So I've pinned my zipper here and I went in half inch inwards. You can see my half inch. So I'll also pin this other side. Excuse me, this other side. Can you see that this is just my trouser? That's the trouser opening. So I'm just going to sew half inch here this way. So can you see what it looks like? From here you can see the fly is on its own and this one too is on its own. So I'm just sewing half inch, the sewing with my half inch seam allowance that I have here. I'm attaching the zipper on the left hand side. So this is the right side. I went in by half of an inch from the zipper fly and then I placed my zipper. So I'll do that and come and show us. So I fixed my zip. You can see I fixed one side and the two sides. So you can see this part is on top of the fly and this one is just on the seam allowance. Okay, so now the next thing to do is to bring in this shield. Okay, let me explain this part also so that we understand it. I fixed my zipper. Can you see that the zipper teeth is in half inch inwards, and then this is exactly on the seam allowance of the half inch. Okay, so now for the shield, I'm going to place my shield this way. So I'm going to be placing it half inch. That's just half inch here this way on this other side, not the side with the fly. I hope you can see clearly what I'm doing. So, and then I'll go ahead to top stitch it. Just half inch inward. So you want to just use your pins to pin this part down. Going to do that, then I'll top stitch and bring it to show us how we're going to do the curve here. So after top stitching my shield, let me open it so that you can see. Okay, so can you see my shield is inside? So now it's time for me to create that curve that trousers usually have. So you can just come here, mark 1 inch or 1¼ inch from the tip. I'll be using 1¼ inch. So I'm just going to mark my 1¼ inch and curve it. Another thing you can do, you can follow the curve of your fly, okay, because that's exactly where my fly ends, can see. So you feel the curve of your fly and then follow it. So I'm just going to do that, curve it in nicely. So while I'm sewing this, I'm going to make sure that this is opened. I'm going to pin this shield here at this point where my fly ends. At this point where the fly ends, I'm going to peel the shield here so that as it is opened and I'm sewing, when I get to this place, I'm going to also sew this part together. It is important to sew this part together so that it's not separated. So I'll be sewing on this curve, and then of course when I get here, it will affect the shield that is underneath. So I'll do that and show us. So after sewing on this curved, you can see what I have here, and then I made sure to hold this in place. I went ahead to join my side seams. Okay, I joined the side here, and I also joined the other side. Because we joined the other side, then I placed them together and then sewed from the center here, from the hem up to this point, and then down to the other side. As I sewed this together like this, you can see how it looks like. So this is what I've done, and I've also gone ahead to hem the bottom with my hemming allowance. So now the next thing to do is to fix my band. Okay, so I'll be placing my band. Remember I made my band 6 inches longer, so I'll be placing my band from this point. I'll be placing it from the wrong side, so I'll place it from this point, pin it all the way around. By the time I'm done sewing it, then I'll cover it up and top stitch it. I'm done fixing my band from the wrong side, as you can see. So I went ahead to close up this side. Here's what I have. I sewed and then I knocked this so that it can relax there. So the next thing now to do is to top stitch my band, and the trouser is ready. Pin here, top of the trouser, and then it's ready. So okay, we're done with our trouser. Can you see how pretty this trouser is looking on my client? I love the fit. It came out really well. I hope you enjoyed making this video with me. Please kindly subscribe, like this video, share with your friends. And then for the kimono she's wearing, I also made a video of this kimono. In case you want to see it, I'll be dropping the link in the description box so that you can check it out later. Thank you for watching. See you in my next one. Bye.